Hello, hello.
We are Violet Pathways, and we honor you and we thank you for your participation and presence with us in this beautiful space. My name is Andy.
And I'm Jessica.
How
Welcome,
are we
welcome.
today?
Good, and yourself?
I'm good. And more talking to the collective, but I'm glad that you gave me a call in response.
Who's watching? Hello, hello.
The
Okay,
pa-
so talk. It's
yeah, I
too
was gonna
much
say the
now.
past couple. I was literally you read my mind. The past couple of days, they've been pretty wild. No,
Yeah,
this energy, this ascension, the ascension energies are coming from at us from all angles, from within, from without. Relationships are hugely strained right now, and so many of us are wanting to reach for something outside of ourselves. Any kind of habit that you have to reach outside of yourself for something, be it food, be it drugs, be it drinking, right now you are going to be triggered to reach for those things even more, because the awareness is right at the surface. The awareness, and sometimes that awareness is uncomfortable, right? So we fight it. So anywhere where we are reaching for something outside of ourselves, or we've had this habit, doesn't mean that you have to be struggling to feel like you're trying to move a mountain, right? Because you feel like you've tried to resolve this multiple times and you keep coming back to it. It's not about that. It's about the awareness that's available, right? The awareness that's available is what actually gives you the tools and the um, everything you need to release it if you choose, right? But sometimes it's not about the thing itself. It's about why. Why is it here? Why am I reaching for this? Why can't I fall asleep without smoking pot? Why am I addicted to porn? Why why can't I not be in a relationship? Why am I constantly, like, every time I'm down or whatever, like, I'm constantly leaning towards food, and I'm trying to change this and shift myself, but every diet I try fails, right? There's sort of like a, when you give someone a massage, there's like a knot in the muscles of the collective when it comes to wanting something better, wanting something different, but not understanding why you're failing. And it's because you don't have awareness. And what a beautiful thing it is for us to come together, hold the space for you to have some.
beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as you were talking, like, I swear all the cards that came out went right along with it.
Yeah.
Insecurities. Where is it that, where is it that you're not holding your heart space secure? Where is it that you're allowing things to, and you can see to
Well,
tie in.
insecurity is also lack of safety, because you're non-secure. You're insecure. You don't feel secure. You don't feel grounded. You're in a relationship and you're insecure because you don't feel secure in the relationship or the bond that you share, right? This is a thing too. When we don't feel safe, or when we don't learn how to generate a place of safety within our lives or within the spaces that we occupy, then we leave a lot of room. We generally are holding space for our trauma minds or our survival minds to come in and steal the joy and appreciation from this.
And then it comes into where is it that you're able to give yourself forgiveness?
Mm-hmm. It's not about what we're able to do now, right? So many of us don't deem ourselves worthy for certain things we desire until we put ourselves through the ringer in some way. I gotta lose 80 pounds in order for me to, you know, go start playing shows and put myself out there, or date, or this, or that.
Actually, that goes into this card.
Perseverance.
Go on. I'm not cutting you off. I'm just saying
No,
that
there's a
goes along with this frequency of that.
absolutely, because what is perseverance is about. And honestly, there's what I'm getting from that card is there's it's the dark side to perseverance. Persevere. It's about, like, pushing through and constantly. Um, I want to even say, like, not being conscious or aware of the signals or the awarenesses that are coming up. It's not rocket science, you guys. It just takes a little bit of
Mhm.
introspection.
Difference with abundance. Are
The,
you the one freaking out when it goes down the drain, or are you the one that's, clever enough to figure out putting a piece of bubblegum on the end of the string to collect the coin?
yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this yesterday. Tantrums,
It
right?
steps up into wisdom. Go on.
Are we missing your messages, guys? Because we're not seeing anything. So say hello. Feel free to say hi. We'd love to have a conversation with you as well and bring you in on this beautiful conversation. But me and Jess, we could talk to each other for hours.
They're just watching.
Okay, that's cool.
So, go on to your abundance. You were saying it's a beautiful thing, abundance.
Well, no, it's a beautiful thing when you're understanding and realigning your power. So, really, for me, in my experiment, in my journey, the abundance aspect it started to come into alignment when I realized that it isn't some like checklist that I need to get off one by one by one in order for the divine to say you are worthy of this abundance. It's about understanding that abundance is also about I don't want to say lack,
Perception.
perception, and going without in some ways. Because when we choose, for example, people in different religions will fast, right? That is a spiritual practice, one that aligns them, but it also helps them to understand and feel into the value, right? So often something as simple as food can be such an anchor for unconscious, right? So when we decide, hey, you know what, we're actually gonna we're gonna put aside the whole food thing for a second, and we're just going to appreciate, we're going to worship, we're going to find value and abundance in what this is. We can throw a pity party, sure. Me and Jess are not we're not strangers to the tantrum, darlings. Mm-hmm.
Where is it in your release? Are you getting lost in it? Or are you able to see the rays of light that come through when you do release? Are you just focusing on the cloudies and the overwhelm?
Are you like, oh my god, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, what do I do? Do I slow down? Do I go faster? Do I turn around?
And what kind of service do you step into? Whether it's for yourself, for others. Where is it that you're feeding your intuition,
Yeah.
your self-acceptance, your your gratitude? I
So
didn't
many of
even see that card when I said gratitude. I looked down and it was gratitude. I
Hi,
mean, you can't
Adrian.
make it up.
So many of us humans, myself and Jessica included, have experienced or do experience what it is like to chase your tail. And when you're chasing your tail, what's happening is and I'm going to say it again, there's an awareness, right? I smoke cigarettes because of this reason. I realize this now. I received this awareness. And now I am one step closer to what I desire, which is a smoke-free life, right? So, and so often, and to be honest, I truly believe these diet trends, um, yearly. Honestly, it starts around the holidays, and they say, "Hey, everybody's getting their resolutions together, and everybody wants to lose weight. Here's this diet. Here's that diet." I truly believe they're in place to keep us um, in a state of shame, self shame. We have so much self shame for our bodies. You know what I mean? In our beings, and a lot of that has to do with literally the space you take up in life.
I feel a little different with that though. I'm gonna be
Okay,
honest. I
okay.
feel that it's more about um, the collective throwing off the frequency of consistency, right? Because if you're consistently eating healthy, then you don't have to go on a diet. Your lifestyle is supporting your body, your functions, right? If you don't think about things in that way, right? You go in like this major, like, what is it? I'm either all in or all out, this unbalanced frequency. And that's what I personally, I feel the unbalanced frequency in that, the fact that we're always chasing
Yes.
this frequency of something, for the frequency of instant gratification. And by getting lost in the program of instant gratification, it's like made it to where we don't understand really what it means to set a lifestyle frequency, because we're always trying different things. We're always in and out of things, right? And
Well,
I
it always goes back to as within, so without, right? There's some
But
people
but
that.
what does that but think about that,
Mhm.
depending on what state of collective frequency you're in, that means something completely different. Just like love and light, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Depending on where you are in your journey, love and light can mean so
Anything.
many different
But
meanings.
when I say as within, so without, in reference to what it is that you're providing to this conversation, it's in reference to people having so many different paths to ascension and to embodiment and the I am frequency. And sometimes it starts from within. Sometimes it's an inner transformation. It's an inner dialogue. It's a wait. I didn't notice this, and oh wow, like this really hurt me, and oh, I stopped myself from doing this because of this, and oh, I've struggled with this because of this. Right? It's a layer by layer process that then empowers you. It gives you the fertile soil to be able to make those lifestyle changes because you understand the why. But oftentimes we are trying to treat something that is not topical with a topical solution, right? So when something like a drug addiction, right? An old lady will say, it's them damn drugs. Them damn drugs keep getting these kids, right? And it's like, no, perhaps it's mental illness. Perhaps it's so many other
It's
deeper
polarity matching.
deeper issues. You know what I mean? And when it comes to what it is that you guys are struggling with in whatever form, everybody's struggling with something different, right? Your confidence, right? Your belief in yourself, right? Stability. So many of you guys are struggling with these things because it's indicating to you something inward. And that's not to bring you shame as if you're supposed to have done something that you didn't do already. That's that perfectionist. Um, I gotta be right and cookie. I have to be perfect, and I have to show up in this way in order to be received and accepted. And I'm so irritated at myself that this is so obvious and I didn't get it and I didn't see it. Right? I fall into that trap. Jessica has to pull me back all the time. You know what I mean? But for all of us, there's this invitation into a very loving, like if you were paid $1 million to turn to someone and to be the most loving, encouraging, yet uh, critical person in their life, to say, hey, like, have you thought about this? I'm not talking about critical in a mean way. I'm talking about critique, right? But in the most
Constructive
loving way,
criticism.
constructive criticism. If we can bring ourselves to a place where we can be constructive with ourselves without bringing ourselves into these like dark places and these valleys and these I don't know. Just help me out. You know what I mean? These
I just
when you're
try to follow
looping,
you. Yeah.
when you're looping, when you're looping and looping and looping and looping. The fact is that we don't know how to be fair with ourselves because our relationship with ourselves, it all comes down to the relationship with ourselves. And so many of us have goals and desires. But what if I told you your desires are not important right now? They're not as important right now. What if I told you that who you be, just who you be, is the important highlighted, the spotlight of the universe is just on who you be, not on everything you want. Because a lot of you guys come to this work only in order to accomplish what it is you desire rather than truly, and if what you desire is to have a more fleshed out relationship with yourself, if what you desire is to um, step into the I am frequency, then wonderful. But if what you desire is a love, if what you desire is money, if what you desire is um, I don't know, a mansion in Beverly Hills, if what you desire is fame, right, you're already on the wrong planet. for what's being offered, it's like you're trying to swim against the current that's happening right now. And the current is pointing everyone into the inner experience, the inner thoughts, the inner feelings, the manifestations, the point of attraction. We know this, we're learning this ourselves. And we're not saying it's easy, but it is very rewarding.
Yeah. So simplify in my frequency thing. I would say everything all out just was where is it that you're looking outside of yourself to fulfill yourself when in all reality you just need to be looking inside of yourself to fulfill yourself. And that would be like the collective thing, right? Because collectively we are programmed to look outside of ourselves for things to fulfill us.
Yeah.
And in all reality,
It is this
true
instant gratification thing you're talking
but
about.
true fulfillment doesn't come from outside. True fulfillment comes from within. And until you can tap into your within, until you can, and it's funny, this card came out too. It says star ancestors. Until you can figure out your hidden secrets, your lost wisdom, until you can truly look a bit deeper within, that's what changes things. Again,
And
from our experience,
and
right?
and
Because
yeah,
we've lived in the experience where we were always looking outside of us to fulfill us, and it wasn't a fulfilling experience. It was very blah.
at
It
least
might have
listen.
been instant gratification at
Mhm.
sometimes, but it still always left a hole.
And there are still times that we find ourselves in not even realizing, subconsciously doing this. But so many of you, and spirit really wants me to communicate this, so many of you are resisting your own awareness because you are afraid or nervous or anxious of what you're going to find. You, because you know, on some level, on a deeper level, you know that the boundaries in this relationship aren't working. The way you're showing up in this way isn't working. This job that you're doing is not serving you and isn't what you desire, or isn't feeding your soul right now. Right? So many of you are actually have built up a mechanism of separating yourself from your awareness, and then you want to pick and choose the awarenesses that come in, right? And this is something, sometimes these messages come through this way because spirit is so loving, it's so
Or
supportive.
sometimes we have awareness of things, we listen to it, and it doesn't follow the expectations that we assumed that it would. And then we don't trust our intuition. I know I went through that. I know there was a time in my life where
That
I
too.
had a very vivid intuition on something, and I followed it, and the outcome was definitely not what my intuition had seen, and I was mad. The guy didn't want to trust it anymore. I thought, like, I gave up. I just got mad and
Yeah.
and took its credit away. And I spent time without having that, and not without having it, but without trusting it, without truly listening to it. I spent a long time learning how to ignore it, right? So that's another thing that happens growing up, unless very, very few of us are raised in homes where if you have these kind of gifts, they're supported from the very beginning. Very, very few of
Right.
us. Some, yes, I'm not saying there's not anyone. There are some people who do have that lifestyle. But if you were, for me, I was never supported in that journey. So these intuitions, the dreams, the premonitions, the just knowing of things, they were chopped up as deja vu, and something that wasn't really. It was a figment of my imagination, or I must have watched something that reminded me of something. So when you're not given credit, or you're not giving acknowledgement for what it is that you're experiencing, as a human, you choose to stop ignoring it. If it's not working, like, you're not going to keep touching the stove when you know it's
Right.
hot,
Right.
and it comes to a part of, like, then it becomes a block to your fulfillment, right?
Yes.
Because instead of listening to yourself, and look at them, like, come on, you can't be making this stuff up. Look at that
No.
moon. It's just like what we are in right now, so where is it that you've allowed your fulfillment to be blocked because you stop listening to yourself?
Or
You stop
where is
trusting
it,
within.
where is it that you allow yourself to waver in your fulfillment because you're, because what it is that you depend on for your fulfillment is outside of yourself.
Yeah.
And it could be as simple as like my boss. When my boss like lifts me up and tells me like, "Oh, you're doing so great. We love you." Da, da, da. This is what gives me like fuel to do this. Like this is what gives me, work, right? And then your boss is like an asshole to you for a week, and then all of a sudden you're in a dark night of the soul. How did that person have that much power, right? You gave it to them, and and I know from experience that sometimes it can feel very overwhelming. But I'm gonna play the role of Jessica and say, truth, truth, truth. It's much more simple than you even feel it is right now. I guarantee it. It's much more simple than that. It's breath, it's awareness, it's presence with yourself, right? And so many follow the instant urge. When people are pregnant, just you were pregnant, so you know about this. When you was pregnant, you had cravings, right?
Yeah.
But did you know
I
that
lived in the middle of the desert. I couldn't fulfill them. I had to understand what they were. I had to, like, dream about it, and then, like, I went to the grocery store, I remembered that one time I liked that, then I might remember to buy it, but truth, even for me, when I was pregnant, I was isolated. I lived an hour outside of town, like, we didn't have a grocery store, so I'd have to
well,
drive an hour to get anything, and 2
my
hours to actually get back.
my point, and I'm very sorry about that. But my
No, there's
point,
nothing to be sorry. It's about truth is that showed control though, because
yes.
those cravings are extremely strong, right?
Mhm.
And if it's easily available, right? I would have been probably at freaking Fatburger or Seattle's Best like all the time because I like crazy, crazy, crazy crave chocolate and I didn't even drink coffee until I got pregnant. And when I got pregnant, I craved coffee, the like chocolate mocha from Seattle Best, and like
Mhm.
that was the thing I craved. But really, if I would have had that multiple times a day, that would have been so bad for the baby and for
Well, but
myself,
that's the
you
thing. It's
know?
that oftentimes those initial um, impulses, right? Those initial cravings are not truly what the brain is asking for, right? The brain is trying to match you to whatever it perceives to have that vitamin or that mineral or that fatty acid or whatever. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I don't
That's
know, because all of a sudden it just, like, popped in and that's what you wanted, and it wasn't like a premeditated kinda thing, it was like a, "That's it,
Well,
and
okay, so
now,"
pregnancy aside,
Just saying.
oftentimes when we're like, oh, I really, really want chocolate, right? There's something within that chocolate that is what our body is asking for, vitamin wise or nutrient wise, right? When we talk about sexual desires, right? And we talk about the instant, like, craving for, I just want to fuck, or I just want this, or I just want that, or I just want to be this, or right? We can put it all out in the open here and say that those are also um, exacerbated needs that have not been met that are then taking on a new form, right? And they're taking on a form that is not a bad thing. It's not even, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's indicating to you that there's an aspect within your needs that need to be met. We don't have parents to take care of us for our whole lives. We have parents to teach us to take care of ourselves. And some of us don't have that or don't get that all the time, right?
Because most of the time, parents don't even do that, truth.
But that's
Parents
the
parent
original, that's
but the
the
thing is
organic, that's the
but
organic, balanced, undistorted purpose.
parents are just trying to raise the children and to make them eat the things that they eat, like, like, I mean, truth, like, truth-wise, like, and that's the thing, a lot of these things, like, there's so many aspects to life that aren't truly discussed, in truth. There are so many aspects to life that aren't discussed. And until you find a conversation where these things are being discussed, most of the time you don't even think about it,
Yeah.
right? Unless it's a part of your life, it's not something that you're going through. And there's a part of releasing, learning how to step into your purity and what purity means for you. For me, purity is as simple as breath. The purity of being able to pull in oxygen and really, get the inhaling of it, and the way it expands and how my body feels, and like the difference my cells feel when they feel like they're oxygenated rather than when I'm just like unconsciously breathing, right? And that's the truth. Like in life, we all come with all kinds of different lessons. And depending on where we come from, the polarities are what we're matched from the parents, right? And then we go into relationships, and then we polarity match with those people. And it's, do you consistently carry all this polarity with you, or do you get to a point in your life where you can see that, holy snap, I'm like got all this polarity all around me, and there's a way that I can clear it out. There's a way that I can become more aware of things. There's a way that I can really truly connect into me. And oh yeah, here's the secret. God's not outside of you. God is
Yeah.
within.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that one is a big one. I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
one is huge. And then from the very beginning, I was on my knees praying up into the sky, because that's where God was. God didn't live inside of me. God lived in the sky. And so when it comes to a point of really, as a human being, understanding that you talk to God whenever, because your voice is a part of God. Your
Yeah.
I am is God frequency.
And rebuilding that relationship with yourself is opening the channeled connective, the pathway to God. That relationship with yourself is the pathway to God, right? Is the connection to that God. And when I say, your parents show up in this way to teach you, what I mean is that, um, in in many ways, the way in which the father and the mother, in the most pure, non-distorted, both parents are showing up in the most organic way. If Jessica and I, within our spiritual growth right now, and I was straight, and she didn't have children, and we had a child, that child would understand how to be the masculine and the feminine to themselves. But guess what? Even if you don't have that, it's still available to you, right? And when we talk about this stuff, it's
Yeah, but
also.
but but pause. Truth.
Mm-hmm.
That child would only know that knowledge if that child were to come into existence today.
Yeah,
If that child were to have come into existence 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago,
but that's
they
not the.
would.
Yeah,
But the point is, but that is a big part of this point, okay?
yeah.
Because truth is, if we would have had the child 3 years ago, we would have polarity matched with that child.
Well,
And I know,
but the
wait, wait,
reason.
wait.
Mhm.
I know this because this is what happened with me. In the
Yes,
very beginning of Leanne's life, I was polarity matching. I was matching to the family that raised me. I was
yes,
matching to their lessons, their
but it,
things, their way of doing things.
the
And it
point.
didn't serve me though. But no, but this is a big part, okay? Because like truth, I'm gonna pause you right here because you're opening up this, so let's go in there. Truth is, right? A lot of us carry around this resentment towards our parents because they
Yes.
didn't teach us these divine teachings.
Hmm.
Truth is, our parents, our bloodline
But
haven't had the knowledge of these divine
that's
teachings.
exactly what I was gonna say. It's
And
the karmic thing, right? Because then you come along and you're like, well, karmically, there's been some blocks, right? The stream didn't come. The stream didn't come this way, right? It got blocked somewhere upstream, right? So what?
I don't know. In truth, I
But
don't
but
know.
but let me
But
get
but
the
but
point out. Let me get
Yeah,
the point out.
but the thing is, it's a little convoluted because that is back stuff, right?
Hmm.
Because in the past, maybe that was some kind of true. Okay, but really, this knowledge was not shared. This knowledge could get you in big trouble. Truth, okay? From the life I was raised in the beginning. If I spoke about this kind of knowledge, because I knew about this kind of stuff in a young age, it would have got me in trouble. In fact, was told multiple times by my family members, if I were to share any of this stuff that I talk about now, I'm going to the mental hospital for the rest of my life. Like, I'm going to be in big trouble. So this was a big hush hush kind of stuff that they didn't have. So
But
the
I'm
light.
not necessarily talking about the divine teachings. What I'm just talking about is specifically the archetype of the divine parent, the mother and the father, right? And what I'm saying is that even though we didn't necessarily have that, and it doesn't necessarily even need to be spiritual, because you don't need to be spiritual. There are people that are non-spiritual that don't absorb polarities, that have their own way of releasing it and not even thinking of it the way that we think of it. But what I'm saying is that
But they're still in
we
their I am
we are
frequency.
then given the opportunity to bring in and develop our own divine parent, our own divine masculine father. That's the I am, that's the she, I, he, I, right? That's the source of it. And the reason
I,
that we struggle is because we didn't have that example, and because there's all this karma that needs to be worked through. right? Ancestral karma, otherwise, right? That it needs to be worked through in order for us to get there, and that's what this is about. Because in 100 years from now, in my vision and my understanding and my seeing of where these timelines are going in this planet, we're going to have full families, right? Families that teach their children how to be strong in their Shi'ai, how to be strong in their Hi'ai. But right now,
It's
not
when it
all.
changes. Right now
Exactly.
is when it changes, and that's what I'm
Exactly.
saying. So
Mhm.
before, even
Mhm.
with us, if we were to have a kid, before, they would have still been in the polarity thing. So this is a part of understanding. You've not done anything wrong if you are a parent and you're in the polarity. That's okay. That's
Yes.
where this knowledge is able to be changed, right? This is where we're able to start expanding. So when I realized I was lost in polarity, I was in an energy that didn't work for me and was most definitely not working for my daughter. That's when I was able to release that and start choosing what worked for us. Start choosing to give her a voice. Start choosing to allow her to eat whatever she desired to eat, because really, why not? Because some form and structure said she has to eat green beans. Like, why? And so that's what I'm saying. There's so much polarity that's out there, but the more we can clear our own polarity, because it's not about the family anymore, it's about us now. And the
Yeah.
more we can clear our own polarity, that's where we start making these changes. That's
Yes.
where this knowledge is now readily available for multiple people to get a hold
And
of,
that's
and
that's
it
where
wasn't
this.
available before. So there's no shame in being like, hey, I wasn't able to be there.
Yes.
I don't think it was there before, truth. Like, and then that's what I was saying. Like, the paradigm has shifted, and that's where we're in today. So, like, today, we're in this new energy, completely new energy, and
Yeah.
I feel it. It's completely new, right? So, if you've cleared polarity, there will be things that come up and trigger you, like, ooh, and that's what I call an auto reinstall, right? And it's like, ooh, you should be feeding me. You haven't been feeding me. And you're like, oh, no, wait, hold on. I used to feed you, but I'm not that person anymore. And I don't choose that anymore. So I'm not going to choose to bring this auto reinstall program into this new paradigm of frequency that I'm choosing to be in. And it's having more awareness of that. So, as you're saying, if you have had, addiction problems in the past, there's a possibility that those cravings are coming up. And if they're coming up, all you simply need to do is remind yourself, I don't choose that anymore. That's not my choice, right? And I've been going arounds about cigarettes and really, like, wanting to quit cigarettes. I've done the hypnosis, I've done the shocking thingy, I've done all these kinds of things to quit smoking cigarettes. And I heard that I'm supposed to make a program, and when I make the program, it'll be simple, clearing, moving on. I've been waking up the last couple of mornings and I'm like, I'm a non-smoker, I'm a non-smoker, and then I'm like, ha, yeah, right, I'm gonna go have a cigarette, it's coffee. So you see, my new paradigm is waking me up with, I'm a non-smoker. My auto reinstall program comes in and goes, oh, really, are you? Are you really, though?
Mhm.
Or do
Mhm.
you want to go have a coffee and have a cigarette? Because nobody's like, you're not doing anything wrong. You're not hurting
Yeah.
anybody. You can have a cigarette. And so I go and choose that,
Yeah.
right? So it comes to where having more awareness.
Yeah.
More awareness is really stepping in, like what you were saying in the beginning. The more awareness you're having of these things, the more you're able to choose. That's not
Yes.
what I
Because
choose.
right now it's not about hard and fast. You got to do this and you got to
No,
do it now. Right
it's
now
not
it's like
cold turkey.
no. Right now the energy is so prime and so good that
For success.
you don't have to dive and swim 20 feet to find your awareness. It's right at the surface. You
Yeah.
just got to reach your hand right in and pick it up and look at it.
You just got to stop being stubborn and choosing the
Hmm.
old stuff, right? Because that's the thing.
They're
The
placeholders too, because when we keep choosing the same thing, then we have a reason or excuse, right?
mm-hmm.
I watched it. I was telling you, Jessica. I don't think you've been watching it, but I've been telling you to. There's this YouTube channel called Soft White Underbelly,
Nope,
and it's this
haven't.
guy on Skid Row in LA, white man, rich man. He's a photographer. He set up his studio, and he just, anybody who's interested will come in and they'll do an interview and they just tell him all about their life story. And these are teenage prostitutes, these are drug dealers, pimps, these are all types of people. And one thing you see, and something that it really makes me sad. It really makes me feel my compassion overflows for them. Is this it feels like living a different life is literally the same thing as like going to Mars. That's how difficult it is, right? Because sometimes we can, when we are used to, we're looping in things for long enough,
Truth. Change is not easy.
because we can't fathom, right? And we think for me, I know my experience, I had to understand how every little thing was going to come into place in order for me to feel safe to take a step in that direction. And that was survival frequency as well. That was trauma frequency as well, right?
Yeah.
And what we're saying here is like, we are blessed to have this friendship and this connection and this business partnership where not only can we hold each other accountable, but we can also be that um, person to go to and say, "Hey, listen, I think I've been fighting this awareness," or "Hey, have you thought about this awareness?" "No, I haven't. I'll think about. Let me reflect on that for a second." Right? And it doesn't. Here's the thing. It doesn't mean, right, just because you have an awareness of I'm not happy in my body, it doesn't mean.
Awareness isn't judgment.
Yeah,
I
thank
don't know
you.
why, but
That's what
they
I'm
want
trying
you
to
to say
say.
that. Awareness isn't judgment. So it changes the way you have conversations. It's
Yes,
not a judgmental, it's not a I'm putting myself above you, it's not a
that's
competition. It's this beautiful just go ahead.
that. No, that's what I was trying to get at when I was saying earlier about the being a critic, but being able to be a critic, but not, but also holding that loving space for yourself. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? We can have awareness, and then also you can have awareness for the fact that, hey, I'm not happy at this weight. But next month, if you're still at the same weight, are you still doing the same things? Are you going to chastise yourself? Are you going to then run away from awareness because you're afraid that when that awareness comes, you can't match it or you can't meet it? Right? This is about the awareness and all the wonky that
Or you
comes with
feel like you
awareness.
don't have self-control to
Mm.
even that's what I'm hearing, muscle
Oh,
self-control. Are
that's
you working
bullseye.
your self-control muscles, you
That's
know?
bullseye. I used to have this reoccurring dream. It wasn't too often, but it was a dream where uh, these like big cats, like lions or mountain lions or something like that, they were like laying on my lap, and then all of a sudden, then I felt in control over them, and then all of a sudden, then they start turning on me and they start ripping me apart, and I could feel them ripping into me, and all of this, and that was my subconscious speaking to me about my my own judgment of my willpower, because all of these things that we're doing, think about the space that they're taking up in the power. It's really evidence of your power. How about that? How about the
Yeah.
fact that, how what if we just took a second and said, everything that I've done in my life to comfort myself through this very intense incarnation, I forgive myself for it.
Yeah. Hope
Any way I sought relief, it could have been
Ho'opono.
as deep as heroin, it could be as light as buying Starbucks every day, right? Anything that I do to cope, anything that I've done to cope until this point in the absence of awareness, I forgive myself for it. I'm a badass. I give myself grace because this shit is not easy.
Yeah, totally. You survived.
Mm-hmm.
You survived until you were able to find it to the living frequency. And then here's the thing, now that you're in the living frequency, do you still need to survive?
Mm.
Because the survival frequency is going to still come up and say, you need to survive. You have to remind yourself, no, dude, it's cool. We don't got to stress like that here anymore. We get to live. We get to live, and I have the Page of Cups, and this is again the new paradigm. You know, what is it that you're filling your cup with? We're at this place, you've hit the place of working through things, being aware of things, getting out of an unconscious frequency. What are you going to do with it? And
When we are so used to approaching things, can you put up the last card again? When we're so used to approaching things from a place of insecurity, from a place of mental chatter, right? Rather than like, hey, this is how I feel. Somebody asks you how you're doing today, rather than say, yeah, I'm doing great. Things are great. How are you? It's hot outside today, huh? Right? Small talk, right? If you were to connect into the heart, rather than allowing these automatic things to come through. If you were just to be like, you know what, I'm feeling a little heavy today, and honestly, I don't think that there's anything I desire for you to share with me, but I'm feeling a little heavy today, and I'm just sharing that out of just being pure honest, right? Being the Page of Cups is it's inviting you into a way of being, and the Page is a student, right? You're a student of your own heart, your emotions, your emotional intelligence, your ability to move forward with authenticity. Can you give me an example, potentially? Not trying to put you on the spot.
So like so for me, the Page of Cups, right? It's about your choices. You know, you have an awareness now that you have a choice, and you
Yes.
have an awareness of the energy that you're playing in, right? Because it's a cup, so that's emotions, right?
Yes.
So when you're in emotions, the major emotions you're going to be in is reaction or
Yes.
response.
Because you're not in the story anymore.
Mm-mm.
Because the story is limiting you.
Or you might get pulled into the story, and you have that moment of remembering, wait, I don't need to be in the story anymore. I can get out of the reaction and back into the response because I just remembered I don't need to be in that story anymore.
And when we're tuning in and being conscious of just our emotions, they speak, right? So often when you ask people, how are you feeling, what are you feeling right now, they give you a word that's not an emotion. They'll be like,
Fine.
yeah, I'm fine, or um
To me, when I hear
just busy, just
I'm fine,
busy.
I'm lost and overwhelmed. That's what I
Yeah.
hear. I'm fine. Oh, you're lost and overwhelmed, and I don't know, huh? You know,
Hmm.
but which again, here comes the next one, the Queen of Wands.
Wands, the
Yeah,
the wands for me in this energy, in this current collective energy, it represents um the undeniable momentum of your I am presence, right? That wand, right?
the
That tool.
pearls.
It's about the
Sorry.
tools that we use. And what do queens do? Queens, they honestly, some might even argue that they have a lot more um, of an intricate job than a king does. You know what I mean? They have a lot to manage and a lot to maintain. But as a queen, right, there's also a peace and a resonance and a calmness, right? A not a calmness, a resolute energy around. I know this connection is here. I feel it. This is the one thing in my life that is undeniable. And the fact that she's showing up as a queen for you all and us all in the collective is showing us that this foundation of our spiritual knowing from what it is that we've experienced so far is unwavering. This is what everything, this is what the awareness can, this is the table, the dining room table that the plates of awareness can be set on. This is it.
Yeah,
And that
and the
black cat is always with that Queen of Wands.
and the pearls too. For
Hmm.
me, the pearls is casting the pearls. You know, where are you casting your pearls, and who are you showing your pearls to get acknowledgement, validation that they're even pearls. You know, and to me, when I see the Lovers card, for me, this is more about self.
Yeah.
You know, the Lovers card for me in this reading would be more the divine marriage within.
Yeah.
You know, allowing your he I and she I to combine, having the awareness of who you be, and truly
Integration.
expanding into your self-worth, awareness, self.
We are a planet unto ourselves. And so many of our countries within our planet can be at war with each other. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like,
It's human nature too, you know. So
hmm.
where is it inside yourself that you're at war? And do you need to go at war, or can you find a peace treaty? Does it always have to be a war?
And I disagree. I don't necessarily think it's human nature. I think it's become commonplace due to the grids of distortion, right? But we don't need to get convoluted. Now
Mm.
you said that earlier, and that's in my head now. Hi guys from Australia. Hi Haley. Um, there's something about that Queen of Wands that's also speaking to. I'm just seeing a lot of different scenes play out with all of you, where it's like No, like this empowering moment. Even though all the things that you want to improve now are not necessarily going at the speed you'd like, there is going to be multiple moments that come up where you surprise yourself, where you're like, no, I don't desire that. Thank you, though. Goodbye. You know what I mean? And like that's also that Queen of Wands energy too. It's this. It's you don't. I don't have to maneuver you intellectually like the Queen of Swords does. I can just sit in my energy and my power and my frequency of like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good on that. I'm gonna stick my thing down. What's it called? The staff, the wand.
Yeah. Where you're going to look at your choices, and that's what you're talking about, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. You're going to put your staff down
Yeah, I'm
because
gonna put my
it's right
staff
in that
down and
frequency.
I'm gonna I'm gonna throw my staff down and I'm gonna say, no, this is my line. I know that that doesn't serve me, and I actually don't desire it anymore. Right? And it's almost like you guys are undermining. Thank you, Spirit. It's because in the past, your attempts at changing or doing different things um have faltered, or have you judged yourself. Meanwhile, it was just indicating to you what was going on inside. Where now there's a unique growth, there's a unique strength that you're possessing now that gives you the clearance to be able to go ahead and choose something that you didn't feel was a choice before.
Yep. Dragonfly. Live life to the
Mm-hmm.
fullest.
Oh yes. And Kristen's group is Dragonfly, by the way. So if you're here, Kristen, just thought of that for some reason.
But it's true, like everything you're talking about. I mean, the cards are confirming as you're talking. It's not
Yeah.
like I'm going through and picking them out individually.
Yeah.
They're just popping out as you're talking, and I'm like, oh, that goes right
And
along.
I'll give you all an example. Say you wanted to start a business and you've just been working your 9 to 5 for so long. And every time you try to build it up or whatever, something happens to take up your time, and then you judge yourself because you're like, man, if I only slept less, like 2 hours less, or if I didn't go to that party, if I didn't do this, I could have been here. And like, look at where I am now. Spirit is saying, well, now that you're ready to let that go and that you've been letting that go, and now that another opportunity is rendezvousing with you, could you consider, is it such a wild idea that now you have all the right stuff to be able to accomplish this? Is it possible? Right? Is it possible that now your options, where you only had an A and B option, now you have an A, B, C, D, E, and F option?
Yep.
Originality. I love that card. It's a beautiful card. It looks like she's dancing, but it also looks like oceans and mountains and an
It's
island.
just blaze your own trails. Goes along
Yeah.
right with what you're saying.
Yeah.
What is it that you desire to create for your life? And why are you waiting for someone to give you the approval? Do it.
Yeah.
There's your approval. Live life for yourself. And don't do it because we say it. Do it because if something for you, we only get one life here. Well, one life in this body. All right. And
We love you
so,
guys, and we trust and believe. We feel so
yeah,
expansive and amazing doing this. But if Jess and I weren't working together, or if Jess and I weren't doing this, if we were in other fields, but we were still in this yummy energy,
if I was just being a mom,
yeah, we would still be enjoying this. But we want to, we feel the value of this, and we want to be a part of introducing these options to you guys if they resonate and if you choose to experiment.
I have found the one that my soul loves. You know who that
Yeah.
one is? Me.
Yes.
Myself.
Yeah.
It's myself. Just like for you, the finding the one that your soul loves, it's you. You know, a lot of times we want to just consistently look outside of ourselves for these things. And until we can learn how to be in these frequencies for ourselves and embrace them and hold gratitude in them, we're never going to be fulfilled when someone on the outside tries to give it. Because if they try to give it, we're not going to feel like we
Yeah.
deserve it. We're not going to feel like we're not going to understand how to receive it until we can receive it for ourselves. You know?
And not to bring it to the dark place again, but bringing it back to soft white underbelly, when they talk about pimps and they talk about that frequency, the pimp will intuitively, or in some notion, pick up on what it is that you're desiring to receive in a form of validation, in a way to hook you, in a way to get you in in a way to get your attention, or a way to have you mesmerized by that option, right? Uh, or even a sex trafficker or whatever, right? There's there, you know, we put ourselves in the line of fire when we are dependent in any way for fulfillment, pleasure in others, right? For so long, I spun this story about myself not being attractive enough, or not being able to fit in, or not whatever. I was telling a story that demanded that I seek validation from other men,
Yep.
right? Where in reality, what was really being invited in was God was saying, hey, like, but what if you could truly feel this way for yourself? What if you could feel like the sexiest man in the world? What if? And it's not even like a demand, like we need you. It's like, what if? What if? What if what you could give yourself is 20 times more in value, 100 times, a million times more in value than anybody else can ever give you? And then when you do feel that, and then other people validate that to you in mirroring what you feel towards
Then you
yourself,
can receive it.
yes, and then it's stabilized.
You receive it and you don't give your power away, you know? All right, on that note, I think I am going to end it for today.
Yes, I feel that with you. I feel that. I love you guys.
Again, we're just talking about our experience. We're just having a conversation about all these heavy energies that are moving around. If it resonates at some point with you, go ahead and, feed on to it. Look into more of that. What's calling your attention. And, if it doesn't resonate, leave it behind. Don't allow anything else to come in and overwhelm you. Okay. We appreciate you all showing up. In the beginning, we weren't really seeing any chats, so it just kind of end up in this flowy
Podcast flow,
conversation.
yeah.
So, you never know what kind of reading. Thank you for the ones that asked for cards. Sorry, we didn't end up doing that tonight. This just really wasn't where we were flowing tonight. So we appreciate you all who stayed around and
Yes, before
watched.
you go, Jess and I are doing a masterminds course in July, okay? And it's called the Conscious Reader 4 week long bi-weekly training. And what this is beautiful. It's everything that I've accumulated in my journey, everything that Jess has accumulated in her journey, and how they beautifully marry together. A modality of sorts of how to use tarot to experience conscious awareness, or use conscious awareness to experience tarot. And they both strengthen and empower each other in such a beautiful way. So if that's something that interests you, we have 5 seats left. If you're interested in any private sessions or bookings or anything, all of that information is in the description. You can always message us if you're curious about anything. And thank you for flying Violet Pathways. The seatbelt sign is now off. You may now move about the cabin. We love and adore you. Thank you for holding a space for yourselves in receiving this. Okay,
Yes.
we leave you in your divine light of the divine creator. God bless.